Parrot rats out stepmother to the widowed millionaire. And what he does. Ricardo Almeida was crumbling in despair as he watched his life unravel before his eyes. His young wife, Camila, had arrived as a housekeeper just 8 months ago and now cared for his 3 twin daughters as if they were her own. It was when the family's green parrot, Pepe, began repeating something that made Ricardo's blood run cold. "Hide in the closet! Hide in the closet!" the bird insisted every time Camila approached. The 45-year-old businessman was in the living room of his mansion in Alphaville, São Paulo, watching Camila serve breakfast to little Sofia, Helena, and Beatrice. The girls, just 4 years old, adored the stepmother who had transformed their lives after their biological mother left 2 years earlier. Ricardo had hired Camila as a housekeeper after a series of incompetent nannies who couldn't handle the children's trauma. "Daddy, Aunt Camila made pancakes!" shouted Sofia, the most talkative of the 3. "In the shape of hearts," added Helena, clapping her little hands. Beatrice, always more reserved, just smiled shyly as Camila fixed the bow in her blonde hair. The 28-year-old woman wore a simple but elegant red dress, her brown hair tied in a low bun. There was something in her dark eyes that always intrigued Ricardo, a deep sadness she tried to hide behind affectionate smiles. "Good morning, love," said Camila, lightly kissing Ricardo's forehead. "The girls have already had breakfast and are ready for school." Pepe, perched on his favorite branch near the window, watched the scene intently. The parrot had belonged to Ricardo's first wife, Luciana, who had left when the girls turned 2. Since then, the bird seemed agitated, especially when strangers approached the children. "Hide in the closet," Pepe repeated again, making Camila shudder imperceptibly. "That parrot is going crazy," grumbled Ricardo, drinking his coffee. "Ever since you arrived, he only talks nonsense." "It must be because he misses Luciana," Camila replied softly. "Animals are sensitive to changes." Camila's words always carried a melancholy that Ricardo couldn't understand. She had appeared in his life like a saving angel, turning chaos into harmony. The girls, who used to cry constantly and throw terrible tantrums, now laughed and played like normal children. In 6 months of living together, Ricardo fell madly in love with her and proposed marriage. "Daddy, can I take the new doll to school?" asked Helena, showing a toy Camila had bought the week before. "Of course, princess," Ricardo replied, stroking his daughter's hair. Camila watched the interaction with a nostalgic smile. There were moments when Ricardo caught her looking at the girls with an intensity that went beyond a stepmother's affection. It was as if she were etching every second into her memory, as if she feared everything could disappear at any moment. The family driver, Mr. João, arrived to pick up the children. Camila helped each one put on their backpack and kissed their foreheads tenderly. "Behave at school, okay?" she said, straightening Sofia's shirt collar. "Yes, Aunt Camila," the 3 replied in unison. After the girls left, the house fell silent. Ricardo needed to leave for the office. His tech company required constant attention, especially now that he was closing a big contract with Japanese investors. "He wasn't supposed to know," Pepe suddenly shouted, making Ricardo stop halfway down the stairs. "What did he say?" asked Ricardo, turning to Camila. The young wife visibly paled but quickly composed herself. "Must have heard it from some soap opera I was watching last night," she replied, forcing a smile. "You know how these birds repeat anything." Ricardo watched Camila for a moment. There was something in her expression that didn't fit with the casual explanation, but he was late for an important meeting and decided to drop the subject for later. "All right, I'll be back for lunch," he said, kissing her on the cheek. After Ricardo left, Camila was alone with Pepe. The bird watched her with an almost human intensity, as if it knew secrets she was desperately trying to hide. "Why won't you leave me alone?" she whispered to the parrot. "I just want to be happy here." Pepe tilted his head to the side as if analyzing her words. "He can't find out about the deal," repeated the bird, making Camila jump. Her eyes filled with tears. How did that animal know about conversations she had in secret? It was impossible yet terrifying at the same time. Camila went up the stairs toward the guest room, where she had set up a small personal office. She locked the door and opened the built-in closet. There in the back, hidden behind old clothes, was a small brown leather suitcase. Her hands trembled as she opened the latch. Inside the suitcase were carefully folded children's clothes, all the size for an 8-year-old child. There were also toys, storybooks, and a well-worn cloth doll. At the bottom, wrapped in tissue paper, were gifts she bought monthly but never delivered. Camilla picked up a small photo and looked at it with teary eyes. The picture showed a blonde, blue-eyed girl, about 8 years old, smiling shyly at the camera. On the back of the photo, a child's handwriting said, "For Mommy with love, Larissa." "My daughter," whispered Camilla, pressing the photo to her chest. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. Camilla's story was much more complex than Ricardo imagined. 5 years earlier, she had lost custody of her daughter Larissa under devastating circumstances. Her ex-husband, Fabio Mendes, was the son of a traditional São Paulo family, owners of a chain of luxury car dealerships. When they divorced, he used all his influence and money to convince the judge that Camilla was neither financially nor psychologically fit to raise the girl. At the time, Camilla worked as a receptionist at a medical clinic and lived in a rented one-bedroom apartment in Osasco. Fabio argued that she was emotionally unstable and that their daughter needed a more structured environment. Larissa's paternal grandparents, Donna Ivone and Seu Antonio, supported their son and took over raising their granddaughter. For 3 years, Camilla fought in court to overturn the decision. She worked day and night, took vocational courses, got a better job as an administrative assistant, but it was never enough. The Mendes family had the resources to hire the best lawyers, while she depended on public defenders. The last time she saw Larissa was during a supervised visit at the courthouse. The girl, then 5 years old, cried when she had to say goodbye to her mother. Camilla promised she would come back to get her, but months turned into years without her being able to gather the conditions to impress the judge. It was then that a friend told her about the housekeeper position at Ricardo Almeida's house. The widowed businessman was desperate to find someone to take good care of his 3 traumatized daughters. Camilla saw an opportunity. If she could achieve financial and emotional stability in a structured family, perhaps she could convince the court to give Larissa back to her. At first, Camilla planned to stay only a few months, just long enough to save money and get references. But something unexpected happened. She genuinely fell in love with Ricardo and the girls. Sophia, Helena, and Beatriz filled a void in her heart she didn't even know existed. When Ricardo proposed, Camilla was torn between happiness and guilt. She truly loved him, but she knew she had started everything with ulterior motives. She accepted his proposal, hoping that, as the wife of a respected and financially stable man, she would finally have a real chance to get her daughter back. The problem was she never told Ricardo the truth about Larissa. She was afraid he would reject her if he found out she had married him, also thinking of using his social position to regain her daughter. It was a secret that ate away at her inside, especially because her feelings for him and the girls were genuine. 2 weeks after the wedding, Camilla discreetly sought out lawyer Dr. Marcos Pereira, a specialist in family law. He advised her to gather documentation proving her new situation, marriage certificate with Ricardo, proof of the family's income, psychological reports attesting to her emotional stability. "Mrs. Almeida," Dr. Pereira said during a private consultation, "your chances are very good now. Married to a respected businessman, living in a mansion, with the means to provide everything a child needs, we can file for a custody modification." "But my husband doesn't know about my daughter," Camilla confessed nervously. "How can I explain this to him?" "That is a delicate problem," the lawyer admitted. "It would be better if he were aware and supported the process. A stepfather willing to adopt the child would greatly strengthen the case." Camilla left the lawyer's office even more distressed. How could she tell Ricardo she had hidden the existence of a daughter? How could she explain that part of her motivation for marrying him was related to getting Larissa back? That night she tried to muster the courage to talk to her husband. They were in the bedroom, and Ricardo was reading some company reports while she brushed her hair at the vanity. "Ricardo," she began hesitantly. "Yes, love?" he replied without looking up from the papers. "There's something I need to tell you." That's when Pepe, in his cage in the hallway, started shouting, "Hide in the closet! Hide in the closet!" Ricardo stood up, annoyed. "That Parrot is impossible. I'll talk to the vet tomorrow." The moment was lost and Camilla couldn't gather the courage to continue the conversation. The next morning, while Ricardo was at the office, Camilla received a call that would change everything. "Hello, Camilla," said a familiar voice on the other end of the line. "Larissa?" Camilla almost dropped the phone. "My daughter, how did you get my number?" I asked Grandma Yvonne. "Mommy, I miss you so much." Camilla began to cry. It had been 2 years since she had spoken to her daughter. Mrs. Yvonne had allowed the contact because Larissa was having emotional difficulties at school, and the psychologist suggested that the separation from her mother might be affecting her development. "Where are you, my love?" asked Camilla between sobs. "I'm at Grandma's house. Mommy, can I see you just for a little while?" Camilla looked around the luxurious mansion where she lived. Photos of Sophia, Helena, and Beatrice, smiling, were scattered throughout the house. She loved those girls as if they were her own daughters, but Larissa was her blood, her first child. "Of course, my love. Where can we meet?" "At Ibirapuera Park. Sunday morning. Grandma said she can take me there to play." "I'll be there," Camilla promised. After hanging up, she stood in the kitchen for long minutes, trying to process the conversation. Pepe watched her from his perch, as if he understood something important had happened. "She's coming back on Sunday," the parrot suddenly said, making Camilla jump. "How do you—" She started, but stopped. It was impossible for the bird to know about the phone call. Over the next few days, Camilla was extremely nervous. Ricardo noticed she was different, more distracted, more emotional. Several times he caught her staring into space with teary eyes. "Is everything okay?" he asked one morning while she was making the girls breakfast. "I'm just a little tired," Camilla lied. "Maybe I need some vitamins." In truth, she could barely sleep. She spent the nights imagining what it would be like to see Larissa again, how she would explain it to Ricardo, how the girls would react upon learning they had an older half-sister. On Saturday night, Camilla made up an excuse about needing to go shopping at the mall on Sunday morning. Ricardo offered to go with her, but she said she preferred to go alone to think about birthday presents for the girls. Sunday arrived cloudy and cold. Camilla put on a navy blue coat and drove to Ibirapuera Park with her heart racing. She parked near the playground and looked for Larissa among the playing children. That's when she saw a blonde girl pushing an empty swing all alone. Even from behind, Camilla immediately recognized her daughter. Larissa had grown so much in 2 years. She was 8 now and taller, but her golden hair and the way she moved her shoulders were unmistakable. "Larissa," Camilla called softly. The girl turned around and her blue eyes filled with tears. "Mommy!" They ran to each other and hugged so tightly it seemed they never wanted to let go. Camilla cried uncontrollably, kissing her daughter's hair and breathing in her sweet childlike scent. "My girl, how you've grown," said Camilla, holding Larissa's face in her hands. "You're beautiful." "Mommy, why did you take so long to see me?" Larissa asked with the innocence typical of children. "Mommy was working a lot to get a nice home for us," Camilla explained, trying to simplify such a complex situation. They sat on a bench and talked for over an hour. Larissa told her about school, her grandparents, her favorite toys. Camilla absorbed every word as if they were precious pearls. "Grandma Yvonne said maybe I can live with you again," Larissa said with hope in her eyes. "I'm fighting for that, my love. Mommy will do everything to get you back home." "But where is our home now?" the girl asked. Camilla hesitated. How to explain that she had gotten married, that Larissa would have a stepfather and 3 sisters? "Mommy married a very good man. He has 3 little girls your age. You'll have sisters to play with." Larissa frowned, processing the information. "Will he like me?" "He will love you," Camilla assured, though she wasn't sure how Ricardo would react. When it was time to say goodbye, they both cried again. Donna Ivone had arrived to pick up Larissa and greeted Camilla politely but coldly. "She's been asking about you a lot," said the 62-year-old woman. "The psychologist said this meeting would be important for her." "Thank you for allowing it," Camilla replied sincerely. "We want what's best for Larissa," said Donna Ivone. "If you've really managed to stabilize your life, maybe we can talk about an arrangement." On the way back home, Camilla felt torn between the happiness of having seen Larissa and the terror of how she would tell Ricardo everything. When she arrived at the mansion, he was playing with the twins in the garden, while Pepe flew freely among the trees. "How was the shopping?" Ricardo asked, kissing her on the cheek. "Good," she lied, hiding her red eyes from crying so much. "Daddy, was Aunt Camilla crying?" asked Sophia, always observant. "No, Princess, it's just an allergy from the cold weather," Camilla said quickly. But Ricardo wasn't convinced. That night, he noticed she was restless in bed, tossing and turning and sighing. "Camilla, I feel like you're hiding something from me," he said in the dark. "We're married. You can trust me." For a moment, Camilla almost told him everything. The words were on the tip of her tongue, but the fear of losing everything she had built was stronger. "I'm just worried about some family matters," she said vaguely. "What kind of matters?" "Problems with my sister," she lied. "Nothing you need to worry about." On Monday morning, while Ricardo was in the shower, Camilla's phone rang. It was Dr. Marcos Pereira. "Mrs. Almeida, I received a call from the Mendez family lawyers. They are willing to negotiate an out-of-court settlement for Larissa's custody." "Really?" Camilla was shocked. "But why?" "It seems the grandparents are having health problems and recognize they no longer have the energy to raise a child. They want what's best for the girl." "What kind of settlement?" "Shared custody initially, with the possibility of full custody if you demonstrate stability for 6 months. But there's one condition. Your husband needs to be aware and agree to legally adopt the child." Camilla felt the world spin. It was exactly what she most feared, and at the same time most desired. "I need to talk to him," she said with a trembling voice. "Mrs. Almeida, this is a very favorable deal. They won't wait long for an answer." After hanging up, Camilla stood still in the kitchen, trying to gather courage. Pepe watched her silently, as if he knew a decisive moment had arrived. "And now?" she asked the parrot. "How do I tell him?" "He wasn't supposed to know," Pepe repeated as always. That afternoon, while the girls did their homework with the tutor, Camilla finally decided to tell Ricardo everything. He was in his home office, reviewing contracts. "Ricardo, I need to talk to you about something very important," she said, entering the room with trembling hands. "Of course, love. Sit here," he said, making space on the sofa beside him. Camilla took a deep breath and began to tell the story. She talked about Larissa, about the traumatic divorce, about losing custody, about her years-long struggle to get her daughter back. Ricardo listened in silence, but his expression grew more and more serious. "So you married me thinking of using my position to get your daughter back?" he asked when she finished. "It wasn't just for that," said Camilla desperately. "I fell in love with you for real, for you and for the girls. But I couldn't just forget I have a daughter." Ricardo stood up and began to pace the room, running his hands through his hair. "Camilla, I don't know what to say. You lied to me all this time." "I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you about her, because I was afraid you wouldn't accept me." "But it's a lie by omission," Ricardo exploded. "How can I trust you now? What other things are you hiding?" At that moment, Pepe appeared at the office window and began to shout, "He can't find out about the deal! He can't find out about the deal!" Ricardo looked at the parrot and then at Camilla with an expression of horror. "What deal?" he asked in a low, dangerous voice. Camilla began to cry. "Larissa's grandparents want to make an out-of-court settlement. They'll give me custody back if you agree to legally adopt her." "You're already negotiating this behind my back?" Ricardo was incredulous. "Camilla, you've been manipulating me from the start. It's not like that. I love you. I love the girls." "How can I believe anything you say now?" Ricardo left the office, slamming the door. Camilla was left alone, crying heavily. Pepe flew close to her and watched her, as if feeling her pain. That night, Ricardo slept in the guest room. The girls noticed something was wrong. Their parents were quiet during dinner, and Camilla had cried so much her eyes were swollen. "Daddy, did you fight with Aunt Camilla?" Beatrice asked in her soft voice. "No, Princess. We're just working through some grown-up problems," Ricardo said, trying to sound calm. But the children knew something serious was happening. They had been through enough trauma to recognize when the people they loved were hurting. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. The next morning, Ricardo woke up determined to uncover the whole truth about Camila. If she had lied about her daughter, what else might she be hiding? He called his younger brother, Andre, who worked as an investigative journalist in São Paulo. "Andre, I need you to help me with a discreet investigation," Ricardo said over the phone, while Camila took the girls to school. "What kind of investigation?" Andre asked, curious. "About my wife. I found out she hid some important things from me." "Ricardo, are you sure you want to dig into this? Sometimes it's better to leave the past in the past." "No, Andre. I need to know who I really married." Andre agreed to help, and within a few days, he brought a detailed report on Camila's life. The investigation revealed things Ricardo hadn't expected. "She really went through a very tough situation," Andre said, showing the documents. "Her ex-husband is the son of the owners of Mendes Automobiles, a traditional family, lots of money. When they divorced, they used all their resources to take her daughter away." "But why did she lose custody?" Ricardo asked. "Officially, due to lack of financial means. But I spoke with some contacts in the legal field. It seems the Mendes family has influence in the court. They wanted to get rid of Camila at any cost." Ricardo flipped through the papers, seeing photos of a younger Camila, divorce case documents, psychological reports, stating she was a loving and capable mother. "She tried to get her daughter back for 3 years," Andre continued. "She did everything. Worked 2 jobs, studied at night, got a better apartment, but it was never enough to impress the judge." "What else did you find out?" "She's clean, Ricardo. There's nothing suspicious in her past besides this situation with her daughter. On the contrary, everyone I spoke to said she's an honest, hard-working, dedicated person." Ricardo felt confused. On one hand, he was hurt by the lie. On the other, he began to understand the desperation of a mother who had lost her daughter unjustly. "There's one more thing," Andre said hesitantly. "I spoke with Camila's neighbor from her old apartment. She said Camila kept all the gifts she bought for her daughter, even though she couldn't give them to her, and that she cried every night after losing custody." This information touched Ricardo's heart. He thought of his own daughters, and how devastating it would be to lose them. When he got home that afternoon, he found Camila in the kitchen preparing the girls' snack. She had cried so much over the past few days that she seemed to have lost weight. Her clothes hung loosely, and there were deep, dark circles under her eyes. "Camila, we need to talk," he said in a softer voice. She turned with hopeful eyes. "Will you forgive me?" "Sit here," he said, pulling out a chair. "I had an investigation done on you." Camila's face turned pale. "And I found out everything about your situation with Larissa," Ricardo continued. "Why didn't you tell me the truth from the start?" "Because I was scared," she admitted with a broken voice. "Scared that you'd think I was just using you. Scared of losing the girls, who I already love as if they were my own daughters. Scared of being alone again. Do you understand that this completely shatters my trust in you?" "I understand," said Camila, starting to cry again. "But Ricardo, everything I feel for you and the girls is real. Yes, I thought marrying you would help me get Larissa back, but I truly fell in love with all of you." Ricardo stayed silent for long minutes, watching his wife cry. He thought about how she had transformed his daughters' lives, how she had brought love and stability to a home that had been shattered by the trauma of their biological mother leaving. "Where is Larissa now?" he finally asked. "With her grandparents. They're willing to make a deal to give me back custody, but only if you agree to adopt her." "And you want me to adopt a child I've never seen, the daughter of a woman who lied to me for months?" Ricardo's words were like daggers to Camila's heart. She knew she had lost the right to ask anything of him. "I can't ask that of you," she said in a voice almost too quiet to hear. "I've ruined everything." It was at that moment that Sophia, Helena, and Beatriz arrived home from school and ran into the kitchen. "Aunt Camila!" all three shouted, hugging her. "Look what I made at school," said Helena, showing a drawing of a family with 5 people, Ricardo, Camilla, and 3 girls. "Who is this other person?" asked Ricardo, pointing to the 5th figure in the drawing. "That's our big sister," said Sophia matter-of-factly. "Aunt Camilla told me she has a daughter who lives far away." Ricardo looked at Camilla in surprise. "You told them about Larissa?" "They asked me why I was sad," Camilla explained. "I said I missed my daughter who lives with her grandparents." "Daddy, when is Aunt Camilla's sister coming to live with us?" asked Beatrice. Ricardo realized the girls understood Larissa as a sister they just hadn't met yet. To them, it was natural that Camilla had a daughter, just like Ricardo had 3. "I don't know, Princess," he said, looking at Camilla. That night, after the girls went to sleep, Ricardo thought for a long time. He loved Camilla, that was undeniable, and his daughters adored her, but how could he get past the feeling of being deceived? He went up to the guest room, where Camilla had moved after their fight. He knocked softly on the door. "Can I come in?" Camilla was sitting on the bed, looking at some photos of Larissa she kept in the nightstand drawer. "Is that her?" asked Ricardo, sitting on the bed beside her. "Yes. This was taken on her last birthday. She just turned 8. Ricardo looked at the photo of the blonde, blue-eyed girl. She had a shy smile and was holding a rag doll. "She looks like you," he said softly. "You think so?" asked Camilla, a thread of hope in her voice. "Camilla, I need to process all of this. I can't make a decision about adopting your daughter right now, but I also can't ignore that you're a mother who's been wronged." "I'll understand if you want to separate from me," she said, her voice breaking. "I lied by omission, and that's unforgivable." "It's not unforgivable," said Ricardo, surprising her. "It's human. You were desperate and did what you thought you had to do to get your daughter back." Camilla looked at him with eyes full of tears. You can forgive me?" "I can try," he said honestly, "but it will take time for me to fully trust you again." "What about Larissa?" Ricardo took a deep breath. "I want to meet her before I make any decision. If she's going to be part of this family, I need to know how the girls will react, how she'll adapt." "Really?" Camilla couldn't believe it. "You're willing to meet her?" "I am, but with a few conditions. First, no more lies between us. Second, we'll do this gradually. And third, my daughter's well-being comes first." Camilla nodded vigorously. "Anything you want. Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you for giving me a chance." The next day, Camilla called Dr. Marcos Pereira and then Donna Ivone, explaining that her husband was willing to meet Larissa and consider the arrangement. "That's good," said Donna Ivone. "Antonio and I really can't take care of a child anymore. We're getting old, and Larissa needs a young family." They scheduled a meeting for the following Saturday at the same park where Camilla had reunited with her daughter. This time Ricardo would go along. During the week, Ricardo watched Camilla closely. She seemed to have regained some of her joy, but she was still nervous about the approaching meeting. Several times he caught her staring into space, clearly thinking about her daughter. "Are you afraid I won't like her?" he asked one morning. "I'm afraid she won't like you," admitted Camilla. "She's shy with strangers, and it will be strange for her to find out she has a stepfather and 3 sisters." "Do the girls know we're going to meet your daughter?" "Not yet. I thought it was better to wait and see how the meeting goes." Ricardo agreed. It was better not to get the girls' hopes up in case something went wrong. On Saturday morning, he and Camilla drove in silence to Ibirapuera Park. Both were nervous, but for different reasons. Camilla feared Ricardo wouldn't connect with Larissa. Ricardo feared he was about to commit to a situation that would completely change his life. When they arrived at the park, they saw Donna Ivone sitting on a bench watching a blonde girl playing on the slide. Larissa wore a light blue dress and white sneakers. Her hair was held back with a flowered headband. "That's her," said Camilla, pointing. Ricardo watched her for a few minutes before getting out of the car. The girl was pretty and delicate, but there was something in her posture that conveyed sadness. She played alone, not interacting with the other children. "Larissa," Camilla called softly. The girl turned and ran into her mother's arms. Ricardo watched the reunion with a mix of emotion and apprehension. It was evident that mother and daughter loved each other deeply. "Larissa, I want you to meet someone very special," said Camilla, crouching down to her daughter's level. "This is Ricardo, my husband." The girl looked at Ricardo with curiosity and some shyness. He crouched down too, getting to her eye level. "Hi, Larissa. Your mum talks about you a lot," he said in a gentle voice. "Hi," she replied softly, partially hiding behind Camilla. "Do you want to play in the park?" asked Ricardo. "I can push you on the swing if you want." Larissa looked at Camilla, who nodded encouragingly. Slowly, she extended her hand to Ricardo. For the next hour, Ricardo played with Larissa while Camilla talked with Donna Ivone about the practical details of the arrangement. The girl was sweet and smart, but clearly starved for attention and affection. "Do you have daughters?" Larissa asked Ricardo as he helped her climb the slide. "I have 3 girls around your age," he replied. "Sofia, Helena, and Beatrice. They're twins." "Twins?" Larissa's eyes lit up. "What's it like having twin sisters?" "It's a lot of fun. They play together all the time. Would you like to meet them?" Larissa nodded shyly. "Will they like me?" "I'm sure they will," said Ricardo, feeling his heart soften. "They love making new friends." When it was time to leave, Larissa spontaneously hugged Ricardo. "You're nice," she said. "Will you take good care of Mom?" "I will," Ricardo promised. "And of you too, if you want." On the way back home, Ricardo was quiet, processing the experience. "What did you think of her?" Camilla asked nervously. "She's a special girl," he said honestly. "Sweet, smart, but also very needy. You can tell she's suffered from being separated from you." "And the girls? How do you think they'll react?" "I don't know," Ricardo admitted, "but I think it's time to find out." That afternoon, after the twins finished playing in the garden, Ricardo and Camilla sat down with them in the living room. "Girls, do you remember when you drew a family with an older sister?" Ricardo began. "Yes," said Sofia excitedly. "Aunt Camilla's daughter." "Well, we went to meet her today. Her name is Larissa, and she's 8 years old." "Is she pretty?" asked Helena. "Very pretty," said Camilla. "And she was eager to meet you." "When is she coming here?" asked Beatrice. Ricardo and Camilla exchanged a look. "That depends on a lot of things," Ricardo said carefully. "Maybe she can come for a visit first, so you can get to know each other better." The girls were thrilled at the possibility of having an older sister. They started planning what games they could play together, what toys they could share. Watching his daughter's excitement, Ricardo felt that maybe it could work. But there were still many practical issues to resolve. On Monday, Dr. Marcos Pereira called with news about the agreement. "The Mendez family is willing to do a gradual transition," he explained. "First, alternating weekends for 2 months. Then, if all goes well, full custody with visitation rights for the grandparents." "And the adoption issue?" asked Camilla. "They insist it be formalized within 6 months. Mr. Ricardo needs to confirm if he's willing to make that commitment." Camilla relayed the information to Ricardo, who asked for a few days to decide. It was a huge responsibility. Legally adopting a child meant taking on all the duties of a biological father. During these days of reflection, Ricardo watched how Camilla interacted with his daughters. She was affectionate, patient, dedicated. If she showed so much love for children who weren't biologically hers, imagine for her own daughter. On Thursday, he made his decision. "Camilla, I'll accept the agreement," he announced during dinner, "but I want Larissa to come spend a weekend here first to see how she adjusts." Camilla began to cry with joy. "Thank you, Ricardo. You won't regret it, I promise." "Daddy, is Larissa going to live with us?" asked Sofia. "If all goes well, yes," Ricardo replied. The girls celebrated as if it were Christmas. They spent the rest of the week preparing the guest room for their older sister, choosing toys to share, and planning activities. Pepe, who had been calmer since Ricardo and Camilla reconciled, watched all the commotion with interest. It was as if the bird knew important changes were coming. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing, Larissa's first weekend at the mansion was scheduled for the end of November. Camilla was so nervous she could barely sleep the nights before. What if the girls didn't get along? What if Larissa felt out of place? What if Ricardo changed his mind? On Friday afternoon, Donna Ivone brought Larissa to stay until Sunday. The girl carried a small backpack with her clothes and a well-worn cloth doll. "Behave, okay?" said Donna Ivone, kissing her granddaughter's forehead. "And call me if anything comes up." Larissa nodded timidly and entered the house holding Camilla's hand. Sophia, Helena, and Beatrice were waiting in the living room, dressed in their best dresses. "Hi, Larissa," said Sophia, who had always been the most outgoing. "I'm Sophia." "I'm Helena," said the second one. "And I'm Beatrice," whispered the shyest one. Larissa watched them curiously. It was strange for her to be in front of three identical girls, but also exciting. "You really are the same," she said with admiration. "Only on the outside," said Helena. "Inside we're different. Want to see our toys?" The four girls ran upstairs to the twins' room, leaving Ricardo and Camilla alone in the living room. "I think they already like each other," said Ricardo, smiling. "I hope so," replied Camilla, still nervous. During dinner, the girls chatted animatedly. Larissa talked about her school and her favorite games. The twins talked about their private tutor, about Pepe, about the outings they went on with Ricardo and Camilla. "Do you like watching cartoons?" asked Beatrice. "Yes. What's your favorite?" "Frozen," the three twins answered in unison. "Mine too," said Larissa, excited. It was the first time Ricardo saw Larissa really smiling. Until then, she always seemed reserved, as if she was afraid to show too much excitement. At bedtime, the first complication arose. Larissa was used to sleeping alone in her room, but the twins wanted her to sleep with them. "Can I sleep in your room?" Larissa asked Camilla. "Of course, sweetheart," Camilla replied. "If you all want to." They set up a sort of pajama party, with mattresses on the floor of the twins' room. Ricardo and Camilla listened to them talking and laughing late into the night. "See," said Camilla, hugging Ricardo. "They're getting along." "For now," he said cautiously. "Let's see how the rest of the weekend goes." The next morning, Ricardo was awakened by Pepe's shouts. complete family," the bird repeated. It was a new phrase. Pepe had never said that before. Ricardo went down to the kitchen and found the four girls having breakfast while Camilla prepared heart-shaped pancakes. "Good morning, Daddy," said the three twins. Larissa looked at him hesitantly, not knowing how to address him. "Good morning, Larissa," Ricardo said kindly. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes." "The girls told me funny stories," she replied shyly. During Saturday, Ricardo observed the interactions between the girls. At first, Larissa was a bit shy, but she gradually opened up. She helped Sophia put together a puzzle, played dolls with Helena, and read a storybook to Beatrice. There were a few moments of jealousy. Sophia complained when Larissa got more attention from Camilla. Helena got angry when Larissa took her favorite toy without asking. But they were normal conflicts between sisters, nothing that couldn't be resolved with a talk. The most touching moment was when Beatrice tripped in the garden and scraped her knee. Larissa was the first to run and help her, carefully cleaning the scrape and offering her cloth doll to comfort her. "Thank you, sister," said Beatrice, not even realizing she had called Larissa sister for the first time. That night, after the girls fell asleep, Ricardo and Camilla talked about the day. "She's adapting well," said Ricardo, "and the girls have accepted her naturally." "Do you think it can work?" Camilla asked hopefully. "I think so," he admitted, "but it will require a lot of patience and adjustments from all of us." On Sunday morning, when Mrs. Yvonne came to pick up Larissa, the goodbye was difficult. The twins cried and asked her to stay longer. "When can I come back?" Larissa asked Camilla. "Next weekend," Camilla promised. The next 2 months followed the same pattern. Larissa started spending every other weekend at the mansion, and with each visit she felt more at home. Ricardo bought an extra bed for the twins' room, and Camilla set up a special corner for Larissa's belongings. The adjustment wasn't perfect. There were fights between the girls, moments of tantrums and difficult adjustments. Larissa sometimes felt like a guest instead of part of the family. The twins occasionally showed jealousy over the extra attention Camilla gave to her biological daughter. But little by little, everyone got used to it. Ricardo began including Larissa in father-daughter activities. Camilla made an effort to give equal attention to all 4 girls. The twins developed a genuine sisterly bond with Larissa. The turning point came in January when Larissa got sick during a visit. She had a high fever and was vomiting, and Ricardo took her to the hospital along with Camilla. The twins were worried and asked to visit her. Seeing Ricardo care for Larissa in the hospital with the same dedication he would have for his own daughters, Camilla realized he had truly accepted her as part of the family. "Thank you," she whispered to him as Larissa slept, sedated. "For what?" asked Ricardo. "For loving her as if she were your real daughter." "But I already do love her," he said simply. "She's part of us now." In February, Dr. Marcos Pereira called with the news that the Mendez family was ready to formalize the permanent custody transfer. They were impressed with the social worker's reports, the lawyer explained. "Larissa has shown significant improvement in her behavior and school grades. It's clear she is happy and well-adjusted." "And the legal procedures?" asked Camilla. "Mr. Ricardo needs to file the adoption petition. It's a process that takes a few months, but with everyone's consent, it's practically guaranteed." That night, Ricardo gathered the whole family to announce the decision. "Girls, I have important news," he said, with all 4 seated on the sofa in front of him. "Larissa is going to come live with us permanently." The twins celebrated, but Larissa stayed quiet, as if she couldn't believe it. "Forever?" she asked in a small voice. "Forever," Ricardo confirmed. "And I'm going to legally adopt her. That means you'll be my real daughter, with a birth certificate and everything." Larissa started to cry and threw herself into Ricardo's arms. "Thank you, Dad," she said, using the term for the first time. The words touched Ricardo's heart deeply. He never imagined he could love a child that wasn't biologically his, but Larissa had earned a special place in his life. "Now we are a complete family," said Camilla, hugging all 5 of them. Pepe, watching from his perch, repeated excitedly, "Complete family, complete family." Larissa's permanent move to the mansion happened in March. Donna Yvonne and Su Antonio came for dinner to officially say goodbye to their granddaughter, but with the promise to visit her regularly. "Take good care of our girl," Donna Yvonne said to Ricardo and Camilla. "She will be loved and protected," promised Ricardo. "And she will always know you are her beloved grandparents," added Camilla. In the following months, the family's routine adjusted naturally. Larissa was enrolled in the same school as the twins, making the daily logistics easier. Camilla hired a school van to take all 4 girls together. The adjustments weren't just practical, but also emotional. Larissa had occasional nightmares about being sent away again. Ricardo and Camilla needed a lot of patience to help her feel truly secure. "Dad, you'll never send me away?" she asked one night after a nightmare. "Never," said Ricardo firmly. "You're my daughter now. Nothing in the world can change that." "Even if I do something wrong?" "Even so. Families stick together forever, no matter what happens." The twins also had to learn to share their parents' attention. There were moments of jealousy and competition, but with guidance and conversation, they understood that parents' love doesn't shrink when it's shared. It multiplies. In June, Ricardo got a call that worried him. It was Andre, his brother. "Ricardo, I need to tell you something about your investigation into Camila," Andre said with a serious tone. "What investigation? That's already settled." "Not exactly. I found out someone paid the private detective to twist some information." Ricardo went on alert. "What do you mean?" "Remember Dr. Silva, your family lawyer? He was involved. It seems he was afraid of losing influence over your business if you got married and built a stable family." "What kind of twisting?" "He suggested to the detective that he investigate if Camilla had other hidden motives, if there were more secrets. He created unnecessary suspicions." Ricardo was furious. Dr. Silva had been the family lawyer for over 10 years and was always someone he trusted. "Do you have proof of this?" "I have phone recordings and bank transfers." Andre had done his own investigation after suspecting something was off. That afternoon, Ricardo confronted Dr. Silva in his office. "Marcos, I need you to explain why you interfered in the investigation about my wife, Ricardo said, tossing the documents Andre had gathered onto the desk. The lawyer turned pale. Ricardo, I was just protecting your interests. He tried to justify himself. Protecting from what? From a woman who has proven herself to be a dedicated mother and a loving wife? You don't understand. She came with ulterior motives. She could have been after your money. And you decided that on your own, without consulting me. Ricardo was outraged. You almost destroyed my marriage with your interference. I have a responsibility to the family's assets. It was my duty to investigate. It was your duty to inform me of your suspicions, not to act on your own. You're fired, Marcos. I no longer want your services. Ricardo left the lawyer's office even more convinced he had made the right decision about Camilla and Larissa. The outside interference had almost destroyed his family's happiness. At home, he told Camilla about the discovery. So it wasn't my paranoia thinking someone was trying to split us up, she said. Dr. Silva was always controlling, Ricardo admitted. He must have gotten scared of losing influence when I got married again. The important thing is we got through all that, Camilla said, hugging him. I don't want any more secrets between us, Ricardo said. We promise total transparency from now on. I promise, Camilla agreed. In August, the day finally arrived for the hearing to formalize Larissa's adoption. The whole family went to the courthouse, dressed in their best clothes. The twins were excited to see the process that would make Larissa their official sister. Mr. Ricardo, after reviewing all the documents and reports, it is evident that the adoption is in the child's best interest, the judge said. Larissa has shown excellent adaptation to her new home and clearly expresses her desire to be adopted by you. Thank you, Your Honor, Ricardo replied. Larissa, are you sure you want Mr. Ricardo to be your legal father? The judge asked the girl directly. Yes, Larissa answered with a radiant smile. He's already my father in my heart. The judge smiled and signed the documents. Then it's decided. As of today, Larissa Mendez becomes Larissa Almeida, legal daughter of Ricardo Almeida. The whole family celebrated outside the courthouse. Ricardo took everyone to dinner at a fancy restaurant to celebrate. Now we're four real sisters, said Sophia. And we have the best daddy in the world, Helena added. Beatrice, always more reserved, simply hugged Larissa tightly. You won't have to be afraid to leave anymore, she said affectionately. That night at home, Ricardo and Camilla sat in the garden watching the four girls play on the playground he had built in the backyard. Pepe flew freely among the trees, occasionally shouting, "Complete family!" Do you regret anything? Asked Camilla. I regret taking so long to learn the truth about you, said Ricardo. I regret doubting your feelings. And I regret not being honest from the start, said Camilla. But I don't regret coming to work here. I don't regret falling in love with you and the girls. Even knowing all the problems it brought? Especially because of that. The problems made us stronger. They taught us to truly trust each other. They watched Larissa teaching a new game to the twins. The girl had blossomed in recent months. Her eyes now shone with genuine joy, and she had regained the spontaneity typical of an 8-year-old. She's happy, said Ricardo. They all are, agreed Camilla, including us. In September, the family received an unexpected visit. Fabio Mendes, Camilla's ex-husband and Larissa's biological father, showed up at the mansion unannounced. Ricardo answered the door and found a man about 35 years old, well-dressed, driving a luxury car. I'm Fabio Mendes, he said. I came to talk to Camilla about Larissa. Camilla isn't here, lied Ricardo, instinctively protective. What kind of business? Family business. I'm the girl's father. You were the father, corrected Ricardo. Now I have custody. Fabio seemed irritated by the response. It wasn't always that way, and maybe it can change again. The veiled threat put Ricardo on alert. He knew Fabio no longer had legal rights to Larissa, but men with money and influence sometimes managed to complicate seemingly resolved situations. What exactly do you want? Asked Ricardo directly. I want to talk to my daughter. I have a right to that. Actually, you don't. You gave up your parental rights when you agreed to the adoption. At that moment, Camilla arrived from the market and saw Fabio at the door. Her face turned pale. "What are you doing here?" she asked nervously. "I came to get Larissa," said Fabio. "I changed my mind about custody." "That's not how it works," said Ricardo firmly. "The adoption has already been finalized." "Anything can be reversed with the right lawyers," said Fabio arrogantly. Camilla positioned herself between Fabio and the door. "You have no right to show up here after 5 years and want to destroy her life again," she said, her voice trembling but determined. "I'm the biological father. I have more right than this stranger," said Fabio, pointing at Ricardo. "This stranger took care of her, loved her, gave her stability you never did," Camilla retorted. "Why did you change your mind about custody?" asked Ricardo, suspicious. Fabio hesitated before answering. "I got married again. My wife wants to meet Larissa." "After 5 years without showing any interest?" questioned Camilla. "What's really going on, Fabio?" The truth was that Fabio had married a woman who couldn't have children and was pressuring him to get Larissa back. She had discovered the girl's existence through old photos and became obsessed with the idea of being the child's mother. "That's none of your business," said Fabio evasively. "It is our business," said Ricardo. "Anything that affects Larissa is our business." At that moment, the 4 girls arrived from school. Larissa saw Fabio and stopped instantly, hiding behind Sophia. "Who is that man, Daddy?" asked Sophia innocently. Fabio looked at Larissa and tried to approach her. "Larissa, it's me, your father." The girl shrank back even more, clearly uncomfortable. "My father is him," she said, pointing at Ricardo. The response hit Fabio like a slap. He had expected Larissa to show joy or at least recognition, but she was treating him like a threatening stranger. "Larissa, do you remember me?" Fabio insisted. The girl shook her head no and ran into the house, followed by the twins. "Now do you see what you've done?" said Camilla angrily. "She's scared." "She's only scared because you've turned her against me," Fabio accused. "She was 5 when you decided you didn't want her anymore," said Ricardo. "Now she's 8 and has a family that loves her. We won't let you destroy that." Fabio left the mansion threatening to get his lawyers, but Ricardo and Camilla knew he had no legal grounds to reverse the adoption. That night they talked to Larissa about what had happened. "Is he going to take me away?" she asked fearfully. "Never," said Ricardo firmly. "No one can take you from us now. You are legally my daughter." "But what if he keeps trying?" "Then we'll have to explain to him that real families don't come apart so easily," said Camilla. To reassure Larissa, Ricardo called his new lawyer, Dr. Roberto Santos, who confirmed that Fabio had no legal basis to challenge the adoption. "He can try, but it would be a waste of time and money," explained Dr. Santos. "The adoption was consented to by all parties and approved by the judge. Besides, the child's best interest is clearly to stay where she is." Fabio still attempted a few legal moves in the following months, but they were all rejected by the courts. Eventually he gave up and stopped bothering the family. In December, when Larissa turned 9, the family organized a special birthday party. It was the first official celebration since she had become an Almeida. "How many candles?" asked Sophia, helping to decorate the cake. 9, replied Larissa. "But I'm going to make 2 wishes." 2? asked Helena curiously. "1 for each year I couldn't celebrate with you," Larissa explained. The answer touched everyone's hearts deeply. Ricardo was moved to see how much the girl valued every moment with the family. The party was beautiful. Donna Ivone and Seu Antonio came, along with some classmates from all the girls' school. Larissa received many gifts, but what moved her most was a photo album Camilla had put together, documenting every moment since her arrival in the family. "Look, this was when you first arrived," said Camilla, showing a picture of a shy Larissa at the front door. "And this was when we all slept together in the room," said Beatrice, pointing to a photo of the 4 girls in pajamas. "And this was at the courthouse when you officially became my sister," added Helena. Larissa flipped through the album with tears in her eyes. It was the first time anyone had documented her life so lovingly. "Thank you for giving me a real family," she said to Ricardo and Camilla. That night, after all the guests had left and the girls had gone to bed, Ricardo and Camilla sat on the porch looking at the stars. "Do you think we did everything right?" asked Camilla. "I think we made some mistakes along the way," said Ricardo honestly. "But what matters is that we got where we needed to be. And where is that? In a united family, based on real love and trust." Camilla leaned against her husband's shoulder. "Sometimes I still can't believe all of this is real," she said. "After so many years fighting to get Larissa back to have all this, it's like a dream." "It's real," Ricardo assured her, "and it will stay that way, because we built it together, with hard work and dedication." They heard Pepe moving around in his cage inside the house. The bird had become the official mascot of the extended family, always watching everything with his attentive eyes and making timely comments. "Remember when you thought Pepe was against me?" Camilla said, laughing. "Now I think he always knew you belonged here," Ricardo admitted. "Animals have a special intuition for these things." The following year, the family faced new challenges, typical of any family with 4 daughters close in age. There were fights over toys, competition for attention, school and social issues to resolve. Larissa needed psychological help to fully process the trauma of separation from her mother. The twins occasionally showed jealousy of the special history between Camilla and Larissa. Ricardo had to learn to balance the needs of 4 different personalities, but all challenges were faced as a family. When one child struggled, they all came together to help. When there were conflicts, they were resolved through conversation and mutual understanding. In 2026, when Larissa was 10 and the twins were 6, something happened that no one expected. Camilla discovered she was pregnant. "Pregnant?" Ricardo said, incredulous when she shared the news. "But we never talked about having more children." "I know," Camilla said nervously. "It wasn't planned. How do you feel about it?" Ricardo was silent for a few minutes, processing the information. "Honestly, I'm in shock," he admitted. "But I think it's a blessing, a symbol that our family is truly complete." "And the girls? How will they react?" "We'll find out together." When they told the 4 girls they would have a brother or sister, the reactions were varied. "Another baby?" Sophia said excitedly. "Can I help take care of it?" "Will it be a boy or a girl?" Helena asked curiously. "Will the baby sleep in our room?" Beatrice wanted to know. Larissa was quieter, clearly processing how another child would affect her place in the family. "Mum, will you love me less when the baby is born?" she asked later in private. "Impossible," Camilla assured her. "A mother's love doesn't shrink when it's divided. It grows." "How can you be sure?" "Because I've been through it before. When I started loving the twins, I didn't stop loving you. I just discovered my heart was bigger than I imagined." The pregnancy went smoothly. The girls actively participated in preparing the baby's layette and decorating the nursery. Larissa proved especially protective, always asking if Camilla was okay and offering help. In September 2026, Gabriel Almeida was born, a healthy boy who definitively completed the family. The 4 girls were immediately enchanted with their baby brother. "He's so tiny," Larissa said in awe, holding Gabriel for the first time. "And so quiet," Sophia observed. "Can I change his diaper?" Helena asked. "When will he be able to play with us?" Beatrice wanted to know. Gabriel brought a new dynamic to the house. The girls competed to help with the baby's care, and Ricardo discovered the joy of being a father again, now with more maturity and experience. Camilla watched her family gathered together and felt immense gratitude. She had started all this trying to reclaim a daughter, but she had gained an entire family, 6 people who loved each other unconditionally, despite all their differences and challenges. Pepe also adapted to the new family member. The parrot seemed fascinated by the sounds Gabriel made and often mimicked the baby's cry, confusing the parents who would rush to the room thinking he was awake. "That parrot is going to drive us crazy," Ricardo grumbled good-naturedly. "He's just being a protective big brother," Camilla defended. In 2027, when Gabriel turned 1, the family threw a birthday party that also celebrated Ricardo and Camilla's 5 years together. 5 years, Ricardo said during an impromptu toast. 5 years since our family started taking shape. "And many more to come," added Camilla, with Gabriel in her arms and the 4 girls gathered around. "Complete family," squawked Pepe from his perch, as if wanting to join the toast. Everyone laughed. The bird had become the family's official chronicler, always commenting on important moments. That night, after the kids went to bed, Ricardo and Camilla sat in the garden as they did every evening, watching the stars and talking about the day. "Did you imagine everything would turn out like this when you came to work here?" Ricardo asked. "Never," admitted Camilla. "I just wanted enough stability to get Larissa back. I never imagined I'd find a whole family." "And do you regret anything?" "I regret lying at the beginning. I regret almost losing everything because I was afraid, to be honest." "But in the end, it all worked out," Ricardo said, hugging her. "It did. Against all odds, it did." They heard Gabriel start crying in his room and Larissa getting up to see if she could help. At 11, she had become an exemplary big sister, always attentive to her little brother's needs. "She's going to be a wonderful mother someday," Camilla said proudly. "All of them will," Ricardo agreed. "We're raising strong, caring girls." "And a boy who will know how to value the women in his life," added Camilla, thinking of Gabriel. At the end of 2027, Donna Ivone and Seu Antonio made a special request to the family. "We'd like to spend Christmas with you," Donna Ivone said during a visit, "if it's not too much trouble." "Of course it's no trouble," Camilla said immediately. "Your family." "Thank you," the elderly woman said emotionally. "Sometimes we worry about being a burden." "Never," Ricardo assured her. "Larissa needs to stay connected to her roots, and we deeply respect the role you've played in her life." Christmas 2027 was special. The house was full of life, with the 7 members of the immediate family, plus Larissa's grandparents. Gabriel crawled on the floor, delighting everyone with his attempts to reach the ornaments on the tree. The girls performed a play they had rehearsed, telling the story of their family in a playful, fun way. Larissa narrated, Sofia played Camilla, Helena was Ricardo, and Beatriz acted as Pepe. "Once upon a time there was a woman who lost her daughter," Larissa began, "and a man who needed help caring for his 3 girls. "I can help," said Sofia as Camilla. "But she had a secret," Larissa continued. "She wanted her daughter back." "Hide in the closet," shouted Beatrice, imitating Pepe. "The parrot knew everything," said Helena as Ricardo. The play went on in a funny and touching way, summarizing the family's entire journey. In the end, they all hugged, representing their final union. Donna Ivone and Seu Antonio applauded, moved. "You've turned our sorrow into joy," Donna Ivone told Ricardo and Camilla. "Thank you for taking such good care of our granddaughter." "Thank you for taking care of her until we were ready to have her back," Camilla replied. That night, after everyone had gone to sleep, the immediate family gathered in the living room to exchange gifts privately. Ricardo gave Camilla a necklace with a heart-shaped pendant, engraved with the names of all 5 children. "So you never forget that your heart holds all of us," he said. Camilla gave Ricardo a special photo album, documenting every important family moment since Larissa's first day in the house. "So you always remember how we got here," she said. The girls gave handmade gifts. Larissa had painted a family portrait, including Pepe. The twins made friendship bracelets for everyone. Gabriel, of course, didn't contribute a gift, but his presence was gift enough. "Next year, Gabriel will be able to join in the games," said Sofia. "And he'll be able to open presents by himself," added Helena. "We'll teach him how to play with dolls," said Beatrice. "I'm not sure he'll want to," laughed Ricardo. "Yes, he will," assured Larissa. "Boys can play with dolls too. You taught us that." Ricardo smiled, proud of how he had raised girls free of prejudice. In 2028, when Gabriel began taking his first steps, the house became even livelier. The boy was curious and adventurous, always trying to reach places he shouldn't be. The girls took turns watching him and playing with him. Larissa, now 12, had become his second mother. Sofia, Helena, and Beatriz, at 8 years old, competed to be the baby brother's favorite sister. "Gabriel, come here," Sofia would call, offering a toy. "No, come with me," Helena would say, waving another object. "He likes me more," Beatriz would claim, making funny faces. Gabriel, diplomatically, distributed smiles to everyone, but it was with Larissa that he felt safest. She had endless patience for his mischief and always knew how to comfort him when he cried. "Why does he like Larissa more?" Sophia asked Camilla one day. "Because she has more experience being a big sister," explained Camilla, "and because she understands what it's like to need special care." "We know how to take care of him too," Helena defended. "Of course you do. You are wonderful sisters. Each of you has a special role in Gabriel's life." That year, Larissa faced her first major social challenge at school. Some classmates found out she was adopted and started making mean comments. "You're not your dad's real daughter," a boy said during recess. "Your mum didn't want you when you were little," added a girl. Larissa came home crying and told Camilla what had happened. "My love, ignorant people sometimes say cruel things," said Camilla, hugging her daughter. "But you know what the truth is, don't you?" "I do," sobbed Larissa. "But it hurts when they talk like that." "Of course it hurts. But remember what we always talk about? Families aren't made just of blood. They're made of love, care, presence." Ricardo, who had overheard the conversation, joined them. "Larissa, do you want me to go to school and talk to these kids?" he offered. "No, Dad, that will make things worse." "Then what do you think we should do?" Larissa thought for a moment. "Can I take a picture of us to show that I have a happy family?" "You can, and you can tell our story to anyone who wants to listen. There's nothing shameful about being adopted. On the contrary, it's proof that you are special enough to be chosen." The conversation helped Larissa gain the confidence to face the comments. She took a family photo to school, and when someone made a mean remark, she would show the picture and say proudly, "This is my family. My father chose me to be his daughter, and that makes me very special." The strategy worked. The comments died down and Larissa made new friends who admired her story of overcoming. At home, the twins were outraged when they found out what had happened. "Let's talk to those boys," said an angry Sophia. "They can't talk about our sister like that," added Helena. "Larissa is our real sister," stated Beatrice. The sisters' solidarity touched Larissa deeply. She realized she had a strong support system and would never be alone to face any challenge again. In 2029, when Gabriel was 3 years old and had become a talkative, energetic child, the family received unexpected news. Camilla discovered she was pregnant again. "Again?" said Ricardo, incredulous. "But Gabriel is still so little." "I know," said Camilla, nervous. "It wasn't planned, just like Gabriel." "How do you feel about it?" "Scared," she admitted. 6 kids, Ricardo. Do you think we can handle it?" Ricardo looked around the house, observing the organized chaos that was their life. Larissa helping Gabriel put together a puzzle, Sophia, Helena, and Beatrice playing school, Pepe watching everything from his perch, occasionally commenting on the activities. "We can," he said with conviction. "We've already shown we can raise a big, happy family. But it's 6 children, Ricardo. That's a lot of responsibility. And a lot of love, too," he said, hugging her. "We'll manage." When they told the children about the new pregnancy, the reactions were varied. "Another baby," said Gabriel, who was learning to form complete sentences. "A little baby like me?" "Smaller than you," explained Camilla. "You're going to be a big brother." Gabriel looked visibly proud at the prospect of having someone smaller than him to look after. The girls were excited about the possibility of having another brother or sister to spoil. "Can I choose the name this time?" asked Sophia. "We can vote on the names," suggested Helena. "I want it to be a girl," said Beatrice. "Then it'll be 3 girls against 2 boys." "I want a brother," said Gabriel, "to play cars with." Larissa, now 13 and going through her teenage years, had a more mature perspective on the situation. "Mom, are you sure you can give attention to all of us?" she asked privately. "Why do you ask that?" "Because I remember how it was before, when you couldn't give me attention because you were working so much. I don't want that to happen to the baby." Larissa's concern touched Camilla's heart. Her oldest daughter was thinking about the well-being of the baby who hadn't even been born yet. "My love, our situation now is completely different," explained Camilla. "We have financial stability, a big house, and most importantly, we have a close family to help. And are you sure you love me as much as the others?" "I am absolutely sure. Larissa, you were my first motherly love, Nothing and no one can ever change that. The pregnancy went well, despite the natural tiredness of being pregnant at 35 while caring for 5 children. Ricardo hired a nanny to help with childcare, and the older girls took turns helping with Gabriel. In May 2030, Isabella Almeida was born, a healthy girl who completed the family for good. "Now we are 3 girls and 3 boys," said Sophia, satisfied, counting Ricardo and Gabriel as the male representatives. "And I am the oldest sister of all," said Larissa proudly, holding Isabella in her arms. "And I am a big brother too," added Gabriel, who had matured a lot during Camilla's pregnancy. Isabella brought a new dynamic to the house. Gabriel was delighted to be a big brother and took on the role with touching seriousness. He helped bring diapers, sang to his sister when she cried, and constantly asked if he could help with anything. The older girls immediately fell in love with their baby sister. Larissa became a second mother, always available to help with her care. Sophia, Helena, and Beatrice competed to see who could make Isabella smile first. "She smiled at me," one of them would shout every time the baby made any facial expression. "That wasn't a smile, it was just gas," another would say scientifically. "It was too a smile, she likes me," the first would insist. Ricardo looked at the organized chaos of his home and felt fulfilled. 6 children was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of love, a lot of joy, a lot of life. Pepe had adapted once again to the arrival of a new member. The parrot now had a repertoire of baby sounds that he imitated perfectly, including Isabella's specific cry. "That parrot is going to drive us crazy," said Ricardo when Pepe woke him in the middle of the night, imitating the baby's cry. "He's just being a watchful big brother," Camilla defended, as always. In 2031, when Isabella turned 1 and Gabriel turned 5, the family organized a double birthday party that became a true celebration. 10 years, said Ricardo during a reflective moment with Camilla. 10 years since you arrived here as the housekeeper." "It feels like a lifetime," said Camilla. "And at the same time it feels like yesterday. Do you regret anything?" "I regret taking so long to tell you about Larissa. I regret almost losing everything out of fear. But you didn't lose it. Here we are, a family of 8, happy and united." 9, corrected Camilla, pointing at Pepe. 9, agreed Ricardo, laughing. By then, Larissa was 15 and showed an interest in psychology, inspired by her own experience of overcoming challenges. Sophia, Helena, and Beatrice at 11 had developed very distinct personalities despite being triplets. Gabriel at 5 was an affectionate and protective boy. Isabella at 1 was the joy of the house with her babbling and attempts to crawl. "Dad," Larissa said one day, "can I ask a personal question?" "Of course." "Did you ever regret adopting me?" Ricardo stopped what he was doing and looked seriously at his daughter. "Larissa, that's the easiest question anyone has ever asked me. Never, not for a second, have I regretted it. You were one of the best things that ever happened to me. Even with all the problems I brought?" "What problems? You brought love, you brought joy, you completed our family. But I almost caused you and Mom to split up. It wasn't you who almost caused our split. It was the secrets and the lies. And even then it all served to make us stronger." Larissa smiled, finally at peace about her place in the family. "Thank you for choosing me as your daughter. Thank you for choosing me as your father." In 2032, the family faced their last big challenge. Pepe, now very old for a parrot, began to show signs that his days were coming to an end. The vet explained that the bird was over 20 years old and had reached an advanced age for his species. "How long does he have?" asked Camilla with tears in her eyes. "It's hard to say. It could be weeks, it could be months. But it's important that you prepare yourselves." The news left the whole family sad. Pepe had been a witness to all the family's important moments. He had been the one who first spilled Camilla's secrets, but also the one who celebrated every achievement with his memorable phrases. The children took turns spending time with Pepe, talking to him and offering him his favorite foods. "Pepe, are you going to be okay?" Gabriel would ask innocently. "Family complete," the parrot would reply in a voice weaker than before. "Yes, we are a complete family because of you, too." said Larissa, moved. Pepe spent his last days being pampered by the whole family. Even weak, he still watched everything attentively and occasionally made his typical comments. One Sunday morning, Camilla came down to make coffee and found Pepe still on his perch as if sleeping peacefully. The bird had passed away during the night, silently. The whole family cried over the loss of the parrot who had been an integral part of their lives. They held a small funeral in the garden where each person shared a special memory of Pepe. "He knew all our secrets," said Camilla, "and he helped us realize that secrets are too heavy to carry alone," added Ricardo. "He always said, 'complete family,'" Larissa recalled. "Because he knew we were a complete family even before we realized it," wise Sophia said. They planted a tree where they buried Pepe, with a plaque that read, "Pepe, keeper of secrets and celebrator of complete families." End of story. So what did you think of this story? Tell us in the comments how you felt during the Almeida family's journey. Do you think Camilla made the right choice by hiding the truth about Larissa at first? And Ricardo, what do you think about his decision to adopt a child he barely knew? Leave your honest opinion in the comments. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to leave a like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other emotional stories like this one.